Welcome to The Topic, where we highlight Houston Community College, our students, our programs, our reach into the community. I'm Todd Duplantis. If you're watching us on HCC TV or YouTube or any social media, you can download all the audio versions of our podcasts at hccs.edu/podcast. We've got a great show lined up for you. We're talking fine arts. STEM is all over the place: science, technology, engineering, and math. But now it's STEAM, which adds arts to the mix. That is really the talk and the topic we're going to be discussing today. Joining me now is Colleen Reilly, Dr. Colleen Reilly, better known as Dean Colleen, the Dean of the Visual and Performing Arts Center here at HCC, and Elizabeth Diaz, HCC Specialist for NASAD. And you're going to talk about the offerings from HCC's Fine Arts Program. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here. Tell me what NASAD stands for.
It's the National Association of Schools of Art and Design.
Okay.
And it's an accreditation for all art and design institutions who choose to be accredited by NASAD and to establish some sort of standard and quality in art and design programs, instruction and teaching and student work.
Now, over the, I'd say, decades, it's always been that it's a tough road when you decide to be an artist to go into fine arts. But, you know, a couple of years ago, we had the opening of our Visual and Fine Arts Center of Excellence. And there was a gentleman who spoke at the opening who talked about all the jobs that are available between Houston, Dallas, and Austin. Colleen, tell me about that, because I was amazed. I've been in communications all my life, but there are jobs all over the place.
Yeah, so we had the good fortune of having the Houston Arts Alliance speak at our opening celebration. And they remarked on the multi-billion-dollar economy in arts here in Houston and the region. The arts and design sector actually employs more people than the medical center.
It's amazing.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So this is really a place where you can explore careers in art and design, in entrepreneurship related to your discipline, and make a good living.
And those jobs can be across the board, from working behind the scenes and in front of, on the stage or in front of the camera, as we like to call it. And you guys are there to guide them through the process.
Yeah, at HCC, in terms of our art and design unit, there's many different kinds of programs, whether you would like to pursue studio arts or graphic design. The sky's the limit in terms of opportunities.
Tell me about some of the programs in order of popularity. I guess dance is a big one. People also want to be an actor. But tell me about the program offerings through the fine arts programs.
Sure. So I'm not going to rank them by popularity because they're all amazing. In our performing arts, we offer an associate's degree in dance, in drama, and in music. We know that Houston has more performing arts seats per capita than any other city besides New York and Chicago. So we're third in the nation for performing arts opportunities.
And we have a symphony, an orchestra, and also a ballet, which many cities or most cities don't have. I was astounded that we have all three.
Right, and they're also very healthy organizations, which, you know, there's certainly a sea change in American culture about where those sort of high art institutions are able to be cultivated and sustained, and Houston is a rare city that is really able to promote Houston Grand Opera and the ballet, and we have relationships with those organizations, and the artists who come to those organizations often meet with our students, teach master classes, so we create a lot of intersections for them.
I know we had a very famous ballerina that helped us for many years here at HCC as well, with the Houston Ballet. That was real popular with Lauren Anderson.
Yes, and Lauren Anderson's actually a graduate of HCC, but she's a graduate of our, I think, medical coding program.
Right.
So that's a really great story for HCC of someone who is prominent in the community, prominent in the arts sector. You know, as dancers, we know there's a kind of lifespan to that career. She's still extremely active as an educator and a dancer, but she pursued an alternate career as well and was able to earn her degree here at HCC.
Talk about establishing those relationships. You mentioned something real important with bringing the community in to work with the students. And I guess really across Houston Community College, it's important with all disciplines, but especially with this one being the fact that we have a brilliant or a very vibrant arts community here in Houston.
Well, I'm really excited excited this year. The Houston Arts Alliance is a major partner for us, and we also work closely with Houston Arts Partners. So that connects us with a lot of the organizations. But the Arts Alliance convened a group called the Houston Intercollegiate Arts Consortium. And so we're creating partnerships with a lot of our four-year schools. And what our intention is to really create a path for students. So they, start at HCC, they go on to a four-year school, and we keep them here in Houston because we're cultivating relationships with the Houston Arts Alliance and the granting opportunities and the larger industry.
And that's a very important point. I was going to ask that question, if we have partnerships to four-year universities. And HCC offers that across disciplines as well. And really, in the long run, if you're looking to get a fine arts degree from a four-year college, coming here for a couple of years saves you a bunch of money.
It certainly does. And it also gives you opportunities that you may not have in your first 2 years at a four-year program. All of our students have an applied opportunity. So our art students will exhibit at the end of each semester. Those exhibits are open to the public. So it's really an opportunity to advance that experience professionally. And then our majors in performance are in recitals, are in performances, are in plays every semester as well. So we have ensembles and practicum and performance courses that students complete. And a lot of people, when they go into a four-year program, their experience is that it's their junior or senior year
Right.
before they're given that opportunity. And we get students involved out of the gate.
And you mentioned something briefly about recitals, and we had, I know we'll show some video of this while we're talking. We did a story recently on a piano you guys added, which seemed very incredible. Tell me about that real quickly.
Well, we're very excited that we were able to acquire a Boston grand piano. So Boston piano is part of the Steinway
Right.
family. We have it housed in Theater 1, which is on our central campus, which is a very intimate space. So it's really giving students and faculty the opportunity to get close to this beautiful instrument. And it would not have been possible without a really strong collaboration with our procurement at HCC, who learned a lot about pianos, and also our leadership in instruction, who saw the value of allowing our students to work with such a special instrument and really supported us in getting it.
And that's just a glimpse of the things that HCC offers, because many folks may not be aware of this, but we have a number of exhibition places, galleries across the district as well, where students get a chance to display their art, and they're juried or judged by other students, correct?
Yeah, we're entering what I call the high season at HCC. It's my favorite time in each semester because our student exhibitions will be starting up, and those are at Northwest, at Northeast, at Central, at Southwest, at Southeast, and we also have performances in dance, drama, and music across the system.
It's an exciting time for the fine arts at Houston Community College. Dr. Colleen Reilly, Dean of Visual and Performing Arts, thanks for being here with us on the topic. When we come back, we're going to talk with Ms. Diaz, who's going to tell us more about the importance of a student's portfolio. What is that? What does it entail? We'll get all the details coming back. Stay tuned to the topic. Welcome back to The Topic. I'm Todd Duplantis. We're talking fine arts today, but if you're watching us on HCC TV or social media, make sure you download and subscribe to all of our podcasts. You can download the podcasts at hccs.edu/podcast. We're talking with Elizabeth Diaz today. We're discussing the fine arts program, and Ms. Diaz is going to tell us about the importance of having a portfolio for art students. I know when many years ago, I started in the news industry, and the importance back then, especially if you wanted to be a reporter, you had to have a demo reel. And it was a tape that you had all the good reports on. And I imagine students need something similar if they're going to find jobs in the future.
Yeah, it's essentially a visual resume. It represents the culmination of work that they've done either at an institution as a student or throughout their life as a professional artist, visual artist. I would say, to echo what Colleen had said, that Dr. Reilly had said, that students at HCC have a really great opportunity to develop their portfolio through exhibition opportunities, and also in the classroom space as instructors work with them on creating these images and collecting them throughout the 4 semesters they're at HCC. And also it's important not only professionally going out into the world to acquire a position wherever they are in industry, but also if they're intending on going to a 4-year program. So they need that portfolio to enter into the next stage. So it's very important. It's changed, I feel like, over the last 20 years essentially as I've been in the arts, in terms of just technology really infusing the direction the portfolio takes. And also even in the studio arts, now everything is digital and online, and that's the way we communicate imagery. So I think that at HCC students really acquire those skills in the art and design unit, and being able to translate images into this very professional portfolio to present to employers, to present to other institutions if they're transferring or going on to a 4-year school.
Do you suggest students start their own website, YouTube channel, a mixture of both, or do they send an electronic folder? What do you suggest when somebody comes into you and says, what should I use to get a job out there?
I think all of the above. I think right now we're in sort of the climate of social media space, in terms of also in terms of web space. So I think, and it also depends on the area, graphic design, studio arts, but essentially students need, I would say, a website that represents their portfolio that they can send, electronically. They can have a web link on their resume. So those are all really key areas that students have to work on and foster and develop as they go into their programs.
Yeah, when students have come to me and asked about getting jobs in the industry, one thing I've always mentioned is, everywhere from Shell to American Airlines are looking for communication specialists who can go in, who can shoot video, who can edit, but who can also upload it to a website, do some of their social media, and maybe build a website as well.
Sure.
They're kind of looking for a mixture, and I guess if you're a graphic designer, you need to fit all those bills too.
Yes, and I also think it's across all of the disciplines now. I think that it's really important for students to be able to cross all of those technical skills and areas and software applications. So I really, some areas are going to have their special niches,
right,
in terms of programs, but I think all students really need to be prolific
sure,
in utilizing technology in order to move forward.
More of a well-rounded approach as opposed to just, well, I'm just a dancer, or I'm just an artist.
Right.
You've got to be more well-rounded, I guess,
definitely.
these days. For the portfolio, does this go across, for example, if someone is a dancer, are you going to want them to showcase videos of them, pictures of them? How would you work with them as opposed to somebody who's a graphic designer?
I think that, clearly some students are going to have performances, some students are going to have installation pieces, some students are going to have images of their 2D works. So I think it depends on the space that student's working in. So I think, and that goes back to having a lot of diverse skills in terms of being able to apply technology needs, video needs, and those sorts of things. And I think some artists and students work with a variety of people. So let's say you have a really specialized skill, you might work with someone else in another area to create videos and that sort of thing. So I think that's a really nice space also to sort of collaborate interdisciplinary in interdisciplinary ways with other folks in your areas and in the arts. So.
If you've got students who are very eccentric and maybe has a lot of a personality, do you want that to come across, or do you want the portfolio to be more professional, where do you create different portfolios depending on where you're applying?
I mean, I think that's sort of a general rule of thumb just in sort of careers across the board. I think that it depends. A lot of students, I would advise to tailor their resume or their website towards whatever industry that they're going into.
So a portfolio isn't all for one. You tailor it for what you're doing?
In some cases, yes. I think some artists will have just a very general resume or online digital portfolio, but also in applying to particular industries, I think some are going to be a little more conservative or minimalistic in terms of wanting to represent themselves in a way that's sort of streamlined with their images, and others might be a little more specific. Again, depending on the industry, but.
HCC allows you to get that portfolio if you go through the fine arts program. And I didn't realize this. Is it really needed if you're transferring to a four-year college, and how does that help you?
Yeah, I think in some cases, depending on the institution, there's plenty of programs that have portfolio reviews. So if you're transferring, they're going to want to see the images that you've created, and it's kind of in line with your transcript. So where is your work visually headed, and is it in line with that particular institution's admission requirements? And sometimes they'll want to see certain skills developed and honed to a specific level to be able to transfer. So yeah, I think it's very important in that regard.
Do you find most of your students are wanting to go into a four-year program, or a lot of them looking to get directly into the market and go to work?
I would imagine there's a little bit of both, but I think in our areas, I feel like we see more students desiring to transfer to the four-year institution. But there's some students that are going out and working in industry as well. So I think navigating both of those spaces in terms of advising students and directing them with their portfolio is key to working with them.
Elizabeth Diaz, HCC specialist with NASAD, telling us about portfolios for the Fine Arts program. Thanks for being here on the show.
Thanks for having me.
If you'd like to know more about the Fine Arts program at HCC, you can log on to hccs.edu/arts. When we return, we're going to be talking with Katherine Rhodes more about the Visual and Performing Arts Center here at HCC. It's a great program, and we'll let you know more when the topic returns.
We have academic programs that help students get from high school into a university, and the data is very clear that students that take the path of a community college finish in far higher numbers than students that start straight into a university experience. Our students can achieve a baccalaureate degree in multiple fields from the universities in the area without ever leaving Houston Community College.
This is Daniel. On his way to becoming a rock star, he got burned, literally. So he changed his tune and his career, and he's starting at Houston Community College. HCC, for everyone, anytime.
Welcome back to The Topic. If you're watching us on HCC TV or in social media, you can download all of our podcasts at hccs.edu/podcast. We're joined today by Katherine Rhodes Fields, Division Chair of Visual Arts Studio and Art History here at Houston Community College, talking about the Fine Arts program. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
You were saying that although you work across the district, you office out at Stafford.
Yes.
And I worked for the Southwest College years ago when they had the ribbon cutting for the Stafford Arts Center, which I imagine you're very familiar with.
Yes.
For folks who aren't familiar with what's out there, it's totally different than the Stafford Center. This is an HCC building, and tell us what's all there.
Well, it's dedicated to the fine arts, or the Center of Excellence for the Visual and Performing Arts. So what's out there are art studios as well as performance spaces and lecture classrooms.
Right.
And so it's a nice variety of both that support our areas within the Center of Excellence for the Visual and Performing Arts.
And while that's all in one building, you know, they even get a black box theater out there.
They
It's
do,
pretty cool.
yeah.
And a recital hall. Those elements can be found across the district for Houston Community College. One thing I was astounded is there are art galleries literally almost on every campus. Tell us about those and how you work with students to place things in those art galleries.
Absolutely. Well, what's exciting about our gallery system is that we are all over. And so we do have a kind of a strong presence in Houston with those spaces. Artists from around the city and outside the city and throughout the state of Texas request to have exhibitions there. And so right now we have faculty, our lead faculty, that oversee the kind of gallery programming and work with the other parts of the Center of Excellence to get that onto a schedule. But at the end of every term, we have juried student exhibitions.
Right.
And so they're hosted there at the spaces. So our students, it's also tied to our student learning objectives. So the students actually get that experience that a real artist would have, as well as a traditional art student being juried into an exhibition.
And for folks who aren't familiar with the juried art exhibits, tell us how that works, because you're kind of judged by your peers, correct?
Well, exactly. And so we're setting up a kind of a situation would be similar to, like me as a professional artist as well as an educator, is that I do submit my work for jurying into larger exhibitions at museums and galleries across the nation and the world. And so for this instance, what we do is faculty request working artists or curators throughout Houston, and they come in and they look at the work in the exhibition and then choose what they feel is the best based on the category that was presented to them. And then the students win prizes. They win certificates as well as art supplies from the department, and rounds of applause, which they can put on their resume, which accompanies their portfolios when they go out into the world as artists.
Which is very important as an artist.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
speaking as a working artist, is it possible in the Houston area to make a living as a working artist? I know there's graphic arts and all that, but
Right.
is it possible to make a living doing that?
It absolutely is. I mean, we are so fortunate here in Houston to have a very strong gallery representation and support of the arts. And so an artist can work out of their studio and sell their work through the gallery system as well as independently. I think there's been a lot of movement for this kind of gig economy that we live in, that artists have a better chance of kind of working independently of the traditional gallery systems by having their own websites or selling through Etsy. So I believe that with the strong gallery presence that is here, and it's a wonderful system, great gallerists, hugely supporting Houston-based artists, that you do have a better chance than other areas throughout the nation to really be successful as a working artist here in Houston.
You mentioned Etsy. How has the advent of selling online and through other markets, through online and social media, how has that helped the world of the artists in making a living?
I believe it's democratized it a bit. I'm a printmaker. My background, I'm an artist first, but I do tend to work in printmaking, which is the most democratic form of art because there are multiples that are being made. And so I feel that Etsy has allowed that democratization of art because there are other people that are browsing that may not have been able to go to the gallery or the museum to see the artwork, and then it's there in the Etsy page or even on a website. I think that's the kind of beauty of the internet, is that more people are being exposed to the artwork. And so I think that's a great opportunity for the audience as well as the artists alike to work together to meet and live a kind of a cultured as well as an aesthetically filled, beautifully aesthetically filled life.
Do you focus on that in your in the instructional part of that,
Absolutely.
on dealing with online and selling online and the websites you want to sell through? Do you focus on that in the teaching?
Not necessarily as a focus, because we are more academically kind of geared in our area. We talk more about the larger concepts that come with being a maker as well as an artist. And I think when we meet one-on-one with our students and in the upper level courses with our majors, that conversation begins. So for instance, this weekend, on Friday, we're having a portfolio review where that conversation can happen about how is your portfolio doing? what does it look like on the web? And so that feedback kind of comes naturally in that kind of a conversation.
I notice art history is in your title because you're
Yes.
division of chair of visual arts studio. We've talked both of those, but let's talk art history. Is that a popular course now, and is it something you can go through HCC and transfer to another college for?
Yes, actually, it's part of our core curriculum. So any student, you don't necessarily have to be an art major to take the art history. We offer 2 sections, which are traditionally called Survey 1 and Survey 2, but they're not consecutive. You can take, they're just based on different time eras. But art history is very important for all of us to take because it gives us a cultural sense of our own history and how together we live together and how we have through different civilizations and different eras and how buildings, from Gothic cathedrals, right, to contemporary churches today and how they connect as well as painting, the materials that were used and like the difference between why oil painting was created and now we have acrylics and what has that brought to us. But it's also kind of getting the students to understand their place in all of this because everyone has a place in the arts and everyone has a place in this kind of cultural civilized experience that we're having together.
Talk about how STEM has now been transformed into STEAM, how arts has worked in the mix, and how important that's been to to where you guys are going with your program.
Yeah, well, it's really important. I think what the A brings in is primarily creative problem solving. Because in traditional studio courses, problem solving, but creative problem solving is what we do 100%. We start from day one talking about how to approach it, to think kind of outside the boundaries that are normally given to us. And I believe it's really important, especially for engineers, right, working on problems.
Mention that.
Yeah,
Sure.
to say, well, look, this material isn't working. What other material can I use? Well, because artists face that all the time because we're given budget constraints, we're given location and building and facility constraints all the time, but we have really great ideas. And so we creatively problem solve that to manifest our creative endeavors. And I think that's what's really important about what we can bring to the STEM, is that we're the leaders in that. We think beyond the limitations. And there might be frustration, but usually what we do is we don't circumvent, we work through that, right, through those frustrations to get to our desired results. Because ultimately, a lot of artists find great joy in what we do in the problem solving. We try to expand that in our classrooms with our students as well.
It makes complete sense, and a lot of folks may not think that problem solving is part of arts, but from what you're saying, and when you mention engineers, that's exactly what I was going to say, because engineers stick in the lines, they stay in their lane, and I would think lawyers would be another one that art would help them, especially with problem solving as well.
Absolutely. We have all different majors come into our classrooms, and I think by the end of it, what I hope that our faculty and what our program does is it allows them an opportunity to lead a creative life and to apply those creative problem-solving skills to everyday situations, whether they're a lawyer, an engineer, a stay-at-home mom, an airline attendant. I mean, just whatever it is that you do, that you live a more creative life, because in my opinion, personally, I think that's the best way to live.
Absolutely.
And so I hope that we can instill that in them. For sure.
Katherine Rhodes Fields, Division Chair, Visual Arts Studio and Art History at Houston Community College. Thanks for being here on the show.
Thank you for having me.
If you'd like to know more about HCC's art programs, it's very easy. Log on to hccs.edu/arts. For the topic on HCC's TV, I'm Todd Duplantis. I'll see you next time.